Well, as they say, welcome to Biddle TV, Simply Different. I'm very happy to be able to welcome you both. Who you are, how you're connected with Reiner, and what you have to tell us, we're about to find out right now. Well, I'd say ladies first. Would you like to introduce yourself? Who are you?
Yes, I'm Regine, and I've known Reiner since about 1984 or 85. Because Reiner was dating my husband Josef's sister back then, and that's how I first got in touch with him. And yes, I've known Reiner since then, from his university days.
For quite a long time. And now I'm curious. I already know about Josef by now. Would you like to introduce yourself too?
Well, I'm Josef, and Reiner was together with my sister.
I see.
Reiner was studying law in Goettingen, as a matter of fact, and he was dating my sister. And we were very, very close friends and spent a lot of our youth together.
Was that also 84, 85 around the same time?
Yes, it started then, yeah. And Reiner was always very athletic, and we did a lot of sports together. Surfing, I got into surfing through him, and he got into skiing through us.
That's interesting. So that means it was your sister who was with Reiner back then. Do you still remember where you met him for the first time?
That would probably have been in Goettingen. And the two of them even had a horse together because Reiner was an absolute Western fan and a big John Wayne fan, and he introduced me to that American way of life, which I really embraced as well.
That's a good keyword, Western. There's also that saying you hear over and over now with this whole Corona thing, and in this trial too. Who said get the Winchester out of the closet?
Exactly, that was the saying even over 40 years ago.
He used to say that all the time back then. It was just a saying that didn't really mean anything. But because he was such a fan of Westerns and probably John Wayne, he used it even back then.
John Wayne, that was his thing. Exactly, he even gave me a book, John Wayne, all his movies. And I was able to visit him in America. We drove through the States for 4 weeks and I experienced a lot there. And he really lived that way too. I mean, it was incredible.
How did you perceive Reiner? Maybe Regine first, how did you see him? Because he is, I think, a very strong personality, you could say. But how would you describe him as a person?
You know, he was fundamentally honest, and he probably still would be today. He always stood on the side of the weaker ones. And he tried within his means to ensure justice, especially later on in his profession. That came to light again and again in conversations.
So he's actually had this sense of justice since you've known him.
Yes, of course.
What was his attitude towards money actually like? Was money important to him, or what would you say?
I don't think that was important to him.
Money was just cash. For Reiner, money was just cash and cash. I've known him a long time, he had more or less money at times, but he was never attached to it. It was just cash, and he was fair. I mean, women came into his life, they left, and from what I saw, he always treated them all fairly. And he never tried to always get his own advantage out of it.
So you could also say that money wasn't the most important thing to him, but justice was very important to him.
Definitely. And that was also the reason for studying law. And you have to know that my sister, that's exactly how it started. My sister said there's this guy who comes in chaps, you know, with those leather chaps over his jeans, the 501s. And he came to the lecture wearing a cowboy hat.
Wow, he certainly stood out a bit.
Exactly, that was Reiner. And what he predicted back then, everything he wanted to pull off here in Goettingen once he became a lawyer, he actually did it.
He was quite a character.
Yeah.
And of course not friends with everyone, because it's clear, if you take on certain people, then he had a certain reputation in Goettingen after that. Which wasn't always easy.
That's how it was, yes.
Yes. How would you say, you also mentioned skiing, I don't think he can do it, or I think there's a funny story.
Yes, well, he was extremely athletic. He was a gymnast, a successful gymnast, was very, very muscularly built. He still is today. And then there was the surfing thing he introduced us to, by the way. He met Robbie Nash while surfing. He spoke to John Wayne in person.
Wow.
And then he came skiing with us. Exactly. And that also showed throughout his whole life. So skis on, and then down the mountain he went without even thinking about the fact that I might have to stop somewhere.
So he'd never been on skis before and just put them on and off he went.
And I think that was Ischgl. Was it Ischgl or St. Anton?
Well, I was with him in St. Anton.
Those were real mountains. It wasn't just some little practice slope. Those were real mountains where as a skier you think, how do I do this? And there, legs wide apart and then straight down, that was clear. Again and again, again and again.
So he knows, well, he doesn't know fear.
No, he actually does not know it.
Totally fearless.
That fearlessness, I think, is also what characterizes him. And also what I appreciate about him is this authentic way. You never get the feeling that he's acting.
He doesn't have that, and he couldn't have done this committee like that either. It was truly his endeavor to help people. And I don't know how I would have gotten through this time without the Corona committee. And what I appreciate very much about him, he never forgot me. Well, I didn't maintain contact that much, even when he became very popular. Through the Corona committee, he kept inviting us to dinner. We met up, we talked about it, about all those things.
How was it then when you say that certain level of fame? You also visited him regularly, I believe. In the prison, was that once or?
I visited him once, so.
Well, that was, I think, very emotional too.
It moved me deeply, yes. There, well, you know, it actually took me a long time to find myself again, because this injustice, treating a person like that, it really got to me, deep down. So he bears his fate with dignity. He has, I was very worried at the beginning whether he'd even survive it, because it's a situation I don't know how I would handle it.
Which was, I think, a very beautiful moment at the end, as you mentioned before. When that hour was over, he turned around. And what did he say then?
And said, Joseph, you are my best friend. That moved me very much, it's true.
Yes, a very, very beautiful moment. It touched me deeply too, because I was at the prison yesterday. And yes, in the moment when you say goodbye, and you know you can leave now and you're free, and he has to, and he's in that cell, it does something to you. I did that yesterday. Well, I didn't plan it, but I expressed it through my emotions anyway, because it's very touching. And yes, I feel very much like you do when you just see now with all the facts we have that it's clear not just from feeling, but also from the facts, that this man is being held in custody unjustly. It's not easy to deal with that. How do you deal with it? Because you are so close. You've known him since '84. You've experienced so much. I know him probably, yes, the best friend, probably one of the best contacts and the closest one you know. What does it do to you when you know a person so well and suddenly so many accusations come, also from the so-called mass media trying to smear him?
Well, that I also have other close friends who have turned away from him. And of course I saw the whole thing coming. And I wouldn't be a good friend if I hadn't told him openly, Reiner, think carefully about whether you want to continue with the committee. And if so, whether you continue in that form, because there are many people who it won't end well for much longer. We spoke here in Goettingen shortly before the arrest. But he was just, as Regine says, he never thought about the consequences. He knew his path was the right one, and he followed through with it.
Well, what I've noticed in the last few weeks, months, before his arrest, he just addressed quite a few extreme topics. Also this child abuse and so on. And some people even claim that this is what ultimately proved to be his downfall. So that's enough now. Let's bring him in. In the end, it really was a kidnapping. Picking someone up in Mexico without an international warrant, I think we agree. That stinks to high heaven. And a few other things too, of course. Now we're confident that he'll hopefully be released soon. Of course, the 9th of March would have been the last day. Due to illness, it's been extended again. Will you also try to visit him in prison again, or maybe attend a hearing? Or do you say, no, that's too much for me?
Yes, I'll definitely do that. Because we have this family business, I'm under a lot of pressure, time pressure. But I'll definitely do it again, attend a hearing, and also try to get a visitation appointment again. But the hours are just limited.
What did Reiner always like doing most? You mentioned sports, that was surfing. And I think jogging too. I once showed the jogging route here.
Yes, that's right.
And then probably his 2 dogs, that was a big part too. What else can we share from behind the scenes that he liked to do?
Riding motorcycles.
Motorcycling.
Riding motorcycles, yes.
Okay.
Sure, I come from an old motorcycle family, of course. He was also very enthusiastic about cars and motorcycles. We bought that old CJ7 in America and drove it across the States. And one time we're driving at night on the open range and suddenly we drive into this huge herd of cattle.
Yes.
And Reiner was driving at the maximum speed limit and he didn't let off the gas at all. There was a huge argument after that. We fought terribly because I thought that was it. My life was over. I mean, you saw a head here, a butt there, and we went full throttle right through them. And he says, boy, it would have been too late anyway. Why should I brake? That was Reiner, yeah.
Yeah, Reiner really, he honestly has no limits.
No, none at all.
And you can see that in his work on the Corona Committee, of course. He's not afraid to tackle any topic. And that probably didn't sit well with certain people.
And with this child abuse issue, he was already dealing with those particular people well over a decade ago, back in the past. And that was, without a doubt, a very, very hot and extremely delicate matter for him personally.
Yes. Yeah, Reiner will surely be able to see this one day. This interview, is there anything else you'd like to say to him for when he gets to watch it?
Yes, for me, the greatest joy is what we just discussed, that he'll be free again and that we can celebrate it properly with him. A huge party.
A huge party, definitely. As I said, the small festival of the human family as a test run until the big one comes, I'd be very happy about that too. Regina, do you also have a word for Reiner?
Yes, I have always believed in his innocence, and it is of course my great hope that he will be free soon. He really deserves it.
Yes. Yes, I think I would also like to say thank you on behalf of the whole community for standing by Reiner. As you said, certain people have turned away, unfortunately. And I hope that one day these people will also see that they made a mistake. We all make mistakes, but one should also be able to stand by them. Thank you very much for these insights. Certainly exciting for the community to hear that for once. And I wish you all the best. And I really hope to see you soon in front of the prison, where we can then welcome Reiner together and give him a very big hug.
That would be great.
That would be the dream.
That would be the dream.
We will experience that soon. I want to believe in it and manifest it. In that sense, have a wonderful day. And you know what is coming now. Do not believe anything I say. Do your own research and connect the dots. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.